let's go back to February 4th, because there are at least 4 senior DOJ officials who knew or should have known that letter was false at the time it was delivered. Your Chief of Staff, Gary Grindler, saw a map of Mexico where guns were being recovered. He was debriefed on Fast and Furious. He knew that cash was being paid for the weapons in Arizona. Lanny Brewer, you will concede, knew for a fact that gun walking was taking place in February of 2011. Agreed?
No.
You disagree that Lanny Brewer, despite the fact that he's admitted it, knew that gun walking was taking place by ATF. Mr. Attorney General, there are emails where he admitted it in October of 2010.
Hey, now, Congressman, you have to be careful here. He said that he knew about gun walking in Operation Wide Receiver.
Right, which is why it's very important. Mr. Weitz didn't say Fast and Furious in his letter to Senator Grassley. I see where you're going with that. He didn't make a distinction on Fast and Furious.
I'm just trying to be careful here.
And I want to be careful too.
You don't want to conflate things.
I'm not conflating.
Okay.
Did Lanny Brewer know that ATF engaged in gun walking in February of 2011?
He knew that they had engaged in gun walking in the wide receiver operation.
So the answer to that question would be yes. Lanny Brewer knew that any statement that ATF makes every effort to interdict guns and not allow them to go to Mexico, he knew that statement would have been false.
ATF has now implemented new reporting requirements for gun sales in the Southwest. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel, like content, and what I do, you can support me with the link. Everything's appreciated. Connecticut residents, getting your permit. Make sure your training is on par with the new state requirements. If you already have your permit, watch the expiration date. Don't let it expire. There's a link to the online renewal portal for the state of Connecticut for permits in the description box. Keep an eye on that. Let's talk about this. The ATF has now implemented or enforcing a new reporting requirements for states on the Southwest, such as California, New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona, because of their proximity to the border. The reason why they're doing this is they're claiming that it will help to prevent gun trafficking. And immediately, when I read this story, I said, wait a minute. Didn't an administration actually encourage FFLs to do this as part of a gun running operation that went awry, that we had to find out through very whistleblower information? But now the ATF is forcing gun dealers to do multiple sales reports on specific firearms. Boy, I tell you, you got these people out of their friggin' minds. But this does stem from the Fast and Furious debacle. And I'm gonna point that out to you, but let's go ahead and get some info on this. ATF announces new reporting requirements on rifle sales in the Southwest. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives has changed its rules for multiple sales of certain types of semi-automatic rifles in California, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas due to their proximity to the Southwest border. In a letter sent to Type 7 and Type 8 federal firearms licensee on June 28, 2024, the ATF told these manufacturers and importers that starting on October 1st, 2024, they must fill out an ATF Form 3310.12 if a buyer purchases 2 or more semi-automatic rifles that can take a detachable magazine and chambered in a round greater than 22, including .223 5.56 caliber, within a 5 business day period. Now, this basically is how multiple handgun sales are performed. If you buy more than one handgun within a 5-day period, you had to fill out a multiple form that had to go to the ATF to report it. They're now just basically taking that same idea and placing it on specific rifles. Currently, all AFLs across the country must report multiple handgun sales to the ATF in southern border states. Type 1 gun shops and pawn shops must report sales of multiple semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazine. Quote, you must submit to ATF reports of multiple sales or other dispositions whenever, at one time or during any 5 consecutive business days, you sell or otherwise dispose of 2 or more semi-automatic rifles capable of accepting a detachable magazine and a caliber greater than .22 to an unlicensed person. The letter reads. You are encouraged, which means if you transfer from FFL to FFL, that's exempt, is what they're saying there. The letter reads, you are encouraged to begin reporting immediately, but are required to report all such sales that occur on or after October 1st, 2024. You must continue reporting multiple sales for the rifle subject to this demand letter until we provide written notice to stop. The business must include the firearms makes, models, and serial numbers, which is typical in multiple form. The ATF also demands the name and address of the buyer, as well as driver's license number and other identifiable information. The FFL is then required to send a completed form to the ATF in Martinsburg, West Virginia. This ATF location is the same as the controversial out-of-business office that some Republicans in Congress have called a registry. Well, it is a registry. It's a registry. This is what they're doing. The ATF claims that the new requirement is to combat the flow of firearms to Mexican drug cartels. Wow. According to law enforcement, cartels are using straw purchases to acquire guns to be smuggled into Mexico from the southwest states. Ironically, one of the most extensive gun operations in history, Fast and Furious, was run by the ATF itself. Quote, to insist its efforts in investigating and combating the illegal movement of firearms along and across the southwest border, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosives is now requiring all licensed manufacturers and importers, in addition to dealers and pawnbrokers who are so required in Arizona, California, New Mexico, and Texas, to submit record information concerning multiple sales of certain rifles. The letter reads, the ATF has the authority to issue this letter to collect such record information from federal firearms license dealer under 18 U.S.C. 923 G5. And that authority has been delegated by ATF's director to the Chief of National Tracing Center. Yeah. And this little nitbit at the end here, once again, caps it. Although importers and manufacturers are not required to follow the new rule until October 1st, 2024, the ATF is encouraging these businesses to start reporting multiple sales as soon as possible. Yeah, wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah, we'd like you to start doing this very unconstitutional thing because it's a registry. It's a federal registry. Now, as you heard me say in the beginning, this is very interesting because this actually stems from the Fast and Furious debacle. If you remember, the Obama administration and the ATF were allowing firearms to flow into Mexico to very dangerous people who ended up using those firearms to kill other people. Then they got caught, and then they used the disgrace of Fast and Furious to implement this multiple sales of long guns. I'm bringing it here. And this is from CBS News. Document ATF used Fast and Furious to make the case for gun regulations. They used their own operation to make a case for gun control. Think about that for a minute. But I'm going to bring you down to here, right here. Now, let me give you the date on this. This is December 7th, 2011, that this article was written. Okay? Just to give you context. Here it is. ATF officials didn't intend to publicly disclose their role in letting Mexican cartels obtain the weapons, but emails show they discussed using the sales, including sales encouraged by ATF to justify new gun regulation under Demand Letter 3 that will require some U.S. gun shops to report the sale of multiple rifles or long guns. Demand Letter 3 was so named because it would be the third ATF program demanding gun dealers report tracing information. On July 14, 2010, after ATF headquarters in Washington, D.C. received an update on Fast and Furious, ATF Field Ops Assistant Director Mark Schultz emailed Bill Newell, ATF's Phoenix Special Agent in charge of Fast and Furious. This is the email. Bill, can you see if these guns were all purchased from the same licensed dealer and at one time? We are looking at anecdotal case to support a demand letter on long gun multiple sales. Thanks. Bill, let me translate this. Bill, we know that you have been letting FFLs do straw purchases in your Fast and Furious program. Can we use that to then implement a demand letter to report multiple sales of long guns? That's what that's saying. Okay. Memos contradict holder on Fast and Furious. Agent, I was ordered to let guns walk into Mexico. Gun walking scandal uncovered at ATF. That's a link there. I'll try to put this in the description box so you can read it. On January 4th, 2011, as ATF prepared a press conference to announce arrests in Fast and Furious, Newell saw it as another time to address multiple sales on long gun issue. And a day after the press conference, Schultz emailed Newell, "Bill, well done yesterday. In light of our request for demand letter 3, this case could be a strong supporting factor if we can determine how many multiple sales of long guns occurred during the course of this case, which were all facilitated by the ATF. The ATF facilitated these multiple sales to allow them to go into Mexico. And they used it to get this demand letter." Okay, so, and I'm going to put this one in the description box too, because remember, this is 2011. There is an FFL dealer who literally wrote to the ATF and said, "Hey, I'm not comfortable with this, and I want to know that with some reassurances that this is not going to come backfire because these guns are just disappearing." I'm going to put that in, and you should really read that. But let me come out of all this. So there it is. The ATF is implementing a multiple sale regulation for sales of any semi-automatic rifle that can take a magazine. If you buy more than 2 in any 5-day given period or business day, they must report it to the ATF. And the twisted part is, they tried this in 2011 and got away with it based on the botched Fast and Furious debacle. This is amazing. So, unfortunately, for those of you who live in the Southwest, in those states, 4 states, they're going to be watching you very closely as you're purchasing, because I'm sure that this scrutiny will go beyond the 5-day business day purchasing time. You buy one on the first day, you buy one on the 8th day. I'm sure somebody's noticing that. But disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. But there it is. Let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.